Hello everyone, in this video I will be doing a breakdown of my Joker DPS burn build, which is great for any incursion in the Season 1 Duality episode because it has great single target DPS and AoE. It can clear waves of enemies easily and has a ton of survivability as well. It performs the best in the following incursions: Tough Crowd, Seaside Amusement, Funny Pages and Choking Hazard. For this showcase I am using the Joker because he is the most suitable character for burn builds due to his talents that boost his damage to burning enemies and allow him to apply burn easily. The build can work on any other character by swapping the affliction on your melee and or grenade to Diablo Blaze, but it will not be as efficient as with Joker. This build focuses on burning enemies and maintaining burn on them while taking advantage of the punish mechanic and the two-phase infamy sets introduced with Season 1 Episode 2, which enables us to deal a ton of damage and clear large waves of enemies quickly, while also maintaining very high single target DPS. The build makes use of the full two-phase tier 3 set, which gives us the following bonuses: plus 50% damage reduction from burning enemies, plus 300% damage dealt, plus 100% damage taken, plus 200% critical hit damage, and plus 2000% damage to burning enemies. Besides the tier 3 set, we are also using one piece of the tier 2 set for the following effect: 10% max health damage to enemies after they burn for 5 seconds. This effect is extremely powerful and you can refresh it by applying a different affliction and then burning enemies again to activate it. Even though 10% max health damage might not sound that great, you can boost the damage of this effect by using other traits such as stacked deck. Since we are going to use this build mainly in the Duality episode, we need a reliable method to both burn and punish enemies in order to deal with the new mutators and modifiers. For burning, we are using all of Joker's talents that burn enemies, namely Rigged Shell Game, Top Banana, Ring a Ding and Ring of Fire, which are extremely helpful. Besides that, we also have the Reverse Flash Melee, which can burn enemies, and the two-phase tier 2 one-piece bonus, which gives us a 50% chance to burn enemies when we punish them. We also have Diablo Blaze on our melee weapon in case we really need to apply burn quickly to a group of enemies. All of these things will guarantee that we can keep enemies burning all the time. For punishing, we are using the Hugo Strange Shield mod, which makes all of our hits on enemies punish them while our shield is overcharged. With this build, it will be easy to overcharge our shield and punish enemies. So far, I was able to clear Mastery 100 with this build in the Duality episode, but I'm sure it will be one of the top builds for climbing to the highest mastery available in this episode. Let's dive into the items we are using for this build. In the Firearm 1 slot, we are using the Stacked Deck Shotgun because it makes enemies take 750% more damage from all sources, which is a multiplicative damage increase. This means it makes enemies take more damage from burn as well, including the two-phase tier 2 one-piece bonus effect. It's a must in this build and it can be easily obtained as a master variant by crafting it at a penguin. In the Firearm 2 slot, we are using the proper Sanctions Shotgun, which is only there for the two-phase tier 3 set bonus. For the melee, we are using Reverse Flash's Lightning Strike, which is mainly there for the villain synergy, but also for the fact that it can apply burn to enemies and deal a decent amount of AoE damage when triggering the effect. Since we'll be using a combination of Electrify and Burn in this build, this item is a good choice here. For the grenade, we are using Jurisprudence, which is only there for the two-phase tier 3 set bonus. For the shield mod, we are using Hugo Strange's Group Therapy, which is our main method of applying punish to enemies and also one of our best ways for survivability, because it gives us a ton of shield every second. For the Traversal mod, we are using the Turtle Steel Force Conduit, which gives us up to 500% damage increase if we are constantly moving. For the Neckbomb mod, we are using Jury, which is only there for the two-phase tier 2 set bonus and because there aren't many other good options. For the Lucky Charm, we are using Standard of Proof, which is only there for the two-phase tier 3 set bonus. The only villain synergy we are using in this build is the Seeing Red synergy between our two-phase infamous items and our Reverse Flash Notorious Melee. This effect gives us a 400% damage increase and a 100% damage taken buff, which lasts for 60 seconds and deactivates when we use a Suicide Strike. The afflictions we are using in this build are Livewire Bolt on our grenade and Diablo Blaze on our melee. There are a couple of reasons for this, mainly because we already have enough methods of burning enemies, but also because we are using the Reverse Flash Melee, which requires enemies to be electrified. It also synergizes really well with our two-phase tier 2 one-piece bonus, which requires enemies to stop burning in order to reactivate the effect. We are going to electrify enemies in order to be able to trigger the two-phase tier 2 one-piece effect again, in case they're not dead already. Let's move on to the recommended augments on each item. For the primary firearm, you want to have critical hit chance, shotgun damage and shield regenerated on critical hits. For the secondary firearm, you want to have critical hit chance, shotgun damage and shield regenerated on critical hits. For the melee weapon, you want to have melee damage to grunt enemies, suicide strike damage and affliction resource from melee hits. For the grenade, you want to have explosion radius, grenade drop chance and chance to drop grenade ammo on enemies killed within 5 meters. For the shield mod, you want to have critical hit chance, damage reduction and damage while shield is at 100%. For the traversal mod, you want to have damage to grunt enemies, damage to brute enemies and damage to enemies that are 25 meters or further away. For the neck bomb mod, you want to have electrified resistance, critical hit damage and damage while shield is at 100%. For the lucky charm, you want to have grenade pickup radius, critical hit damage and damage while shield is at 100%. As always, you want to make sure that your bots are equipped with 2 stacked deck firearms each, because they can apply it to enemies and not only will it increase the damage you deal, but it will also make them deal damage. Also, equip your bots with one piece of the two-phase tier 1 set, because they can also apply punish to enemies when they get hit. When it comes to talents, for Joker, we are focusing on anything that applies burn to enemies and gives us damage increase. Some of the key talents are Rigged Shell Game, Temper, Top Banana, Ring a Ding and Ring of Fire. For the squad talent, you want to get anything that increases your damage. Start off with critical hit chance and critical hit damage, then focus on maxing both shotgun damage nodes, then anything else that increases your damage and the rest is up to personal preference. Let's move on to the build playstyle. This build is not exactly easy to play, but not that difficult either. You need to maintain your damage buffs and also your shield overcharge in order to keep punishing enemies and make sure enemies are constantly burning to take advantage of all the damage to burning enemies you're getting from this build. You want to start off by getting in the enemy's face and shooting them with your shotgun, which will apply burn. This is the easiest way to start spreading burn to enemies. Once you reach 30 combo, you can start applying burn to large groups of enemies by using your traversal attack. Once you reach 50 combo, your critical hits will apply burn as well, so keep that in mind. Try to also make use of the Ring a Ding talent, which causes enemies hit by your grenade to explode on death and burn all enemies within 5 meters. Your two-phase tier 2 one-piece bonus also has a 50% chance to burn enemies when you punish them, so you should be burning everyone around you naturally just by playing the build correctly. Now, besides keeping enemies punished and burned, the other two things you need to keep your eyes on are the Chaos and Order buffs from your two-phase tier 3 set, which will give you the insane damage increase of 2000% damage to burning enemies, 300% overall damage increase and 200% critical hit damage. Chaos is easy to max out just by burning enemies, but you need to use your suicide strike once you reach 20 stacks of Chaos in order to consume them and get 20 stacks of Order. You only need to do this once every 2 minutes to maintain the Order buff, which is the most important one. Additionally, make sure to also keep an eye on the damage from the two-phase tier 2 set, which will deal 10% max health damage to enemies that have been burning for 5 seconds. In order to maximize the damage of this effect, you want to apply stack deck to your main target, which should normally be a bomber or destroyer. After the effect is triggered and does the damage, it usually deletes any grunt enemy affected, but in case enemies are still alive, you can use your affliction grenade to apply electricity to enemies and then burn them again, which will reset the two-phase damage effect and will trigger it again in 5 seconds. Besides playing the build correctly, you also need to make sure you understand and make use of the enemy mutators and modifiers from the Duality episode. The most important ones to keep in mind are the following. Enemies explode when they die and leave behind a puddle that lasts for 15 seconds. Each second you stand in the puddle regenerates 20% shield. Your damage is also increased while standing in the puddle. This mutator is insanely strong and it allows you to have insane survivability by killing weak enemies and standing in the puddles they leave behind. This also synergizes really well with our shield mod. For 10 seconds after an enemy gets punished, critical hits on that enemy regenerate 5% suicide strike and traversal attack resource. This cannot happen again until the enemy stops being punished. This is a very easy way to spam traversal attacks and constantly apply burn and deal a ton of AoE damage to enemies. Make sure to keep moving around, maintain your shield overcharge, keep enemies burned and maintain your damage buffs, and you should easily clear any incursion in the Duality episode. That would be it for this video. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.